Hey, welcome back to the next episode of Tearing Through the Roof, the podcast where life gets messy, friendships get real, and when the door is blocked, we make our own way to Jesus. Let's go. Hey, I'm your host, Jamie Carter, and back on the show again today is Mr. Ronnie Dye.
Glad to be back.
Man, glad to have you. You are my second three-peat.
All right.
So, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm running out of friends and I'm just having to go back.
It's probably that I have so many problems in the past, you know.
Hey, we could look at it that way. I got to get y'all back because y'all got so many messes to do with. So you've been on 2 times before, and the first time we talked about your salvation experience and getting into church and getting into the ministry, and then I believe the last time you were on, we talked about you going into the ministry and then going to First Baptist Cherokee Village, and you were the
I did music and senior adult ministry.
Yeah, and how God got y'all through that financially, and you quitting your job and going there, and they moved you to full-time, added adult ministry to it, and then everything was going well. So I know we talk about messes, but it's also how God blesses us and moves us through this and stuff, and so. I know this story. I've heard you've told me. I've heard you tell other people, and I would love for other people to hear this story. And it's the story of the guitar.
Yeah. So
really cool story. Yeah. God was all in that, moving through it, and caused it to happen. And so let's pick up. You are at you and Jill. Do y'all have Trevor and Grayson at this time?
We did.
So you have both of them.
We did.
So
yeah.
Y'all new family. Hadn't been married very long, probably 3-4 years.
Well, Trevor, when we moved to Cherokee Village, Trevor was in second grade, maybe first grade, second grade, and he actually started to school on his birthday. We moved like in February. To Cherokee Village, and that was another kind of.
So y'all been married 6-7 years, probably somewhere in there.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, but still fairly new, and 2 young kids moving to Cherokee Village without jobs. Well, right. you had a part-time
job. Yeah.
You had a full-time job that paid half-time pay.
Right.
And and I believe you told us that Jill had gotten a job there and y'all were all right. So. Pick up from there and let's get into the guitar story.
So prior to that, prior to moving there, let me back up to when I first learned how to play the guitar. I always wanted to learn how to play guitar, but my dad bought me one, and this is how much I knew about guitars at the time. My dad bought me a guitar, and I didn't realize it was a classical guitar, and it had the nylon strings and the wide neck, and I just always struggled to play it. And my dad was one of those guys that if he saw those the selling things on TV, if it interested him or he thought it would help somebody, he would buy it, and and that's where he found this guitar. And so
I wouldn't know the difference either.
Yeah,
I would. A guitar's a guitar.
Yeah, and so
I'm guessing it's like vehicles though. A car is a car to some people, but there's different levels of cars.
Well, there are different sounds. The classical guitar, you have more of the Spanish sound. It's more of a classical sound to it. But Jim Shaw, he's the one that informed me because he was going to give me a few guitar lessons.
I think we talked about that.
And he wanted me to help lead music with the youth out at Maple Grove. And so when I showed him the guitar, he kind of laughed and said, this is a classical guitar, I think. And so I wound up I found a guitar. There was a guy who was a nurse here in Jonesboro, and he had a Bentley 5150. It was a thin model, this really small guitar, and he had it for sale cheap. So I met the guy up here in Jonesboro and bought it, and much smaller neck on it, and learned how to play it that way. And Jim taught me G, C, and D chords, E minor, and those things. And I would go and listen to the Christian songs that we were listening to on the radio at the time. And then that's when the internet just really got started. And I would go hit the dial up internet and pull up the
Sound like a dinosaur.
Yeah, I had to wait on that little, before you're connected. And
we thought we were uptown.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And I pulled up the chords to those songs that I was listening to, and just listened to them, and then got the guitar out, and I would find the songs that were in G, C, and D, and would practice playing those songs. And I don't remember if we shared this last time, but the first time I led worship at the church at Maple Grove was about a month after I had learned how to play. And I started playing these songs, and the power went out at the church on a Sunday night. And everybody was like, "What are we gonna do?" And Jim said, "Well, I know what we're gonna do. Ronnie's gonna lead us." And
I think you told us that the last.
And so, man, that was my first time to really.
It's hard for me because I've heard all these stories.
Yeah, and so when we went to Cherokee Village, that was the guitar that I had going there to lead worship with. And
did you still have the other one? Did you ever play it, the classical one?
I wound up. I took that guitar, and I'm pretty sure that I took it to Guatemala and left it there. Okay. Or maybe I gave it to somebody before then, but I can't remember. But I have several guitars now that have been either given to me or passed down or whatever, that I never play now, and so I'm looking to pass those down maybe to my grandkids or something, if they want to play. But anyway, my wife. Well, she doesn't know about some of these guitars, I guess, because they are at the church. They're not in her way at the house, but like most things. But
kind of like guns for other people.
Well, and Bibles. She says I have a ton of Bibles that are in. I never read.
I have some firearms that when Amanda sees them. I've had them for.
Yeah.
I learned that off of I Love Lucy.
Yeah. And so I took this 5150 Bentley 5150 to Cherokee Village, and I played it for a little bit while I was there, and then all of a sudden one of the guys in the church, well, let me back up. There was a kid in the church. Her name was Natalie, who plays better than me now, but she was really small youth in our youth group, and she was looking to get a guitar, and she wanted me to give her a few lessons. Well, I wound up selling her that guitar with the intentions of going to buy another guitar later on. And so I sold her that guitar, gave her we met a few times, with guitar lessons and stuff, and then she just took off. She could play, and she played and sang really well.
So you sold her the guitar you were using?
Yes.
So then you didn't have one?
We had a piano player and stuff at the church, and so also at that same time, or right around that same time, a guy named Larry Painter in our church, he went to Atlanta, Georgia to see, I think it was his son, and he came back on a Sunday night, he came back and he brought a guitar, and it was an $800 Martin guitar. It didn't have the pickup or anything in it, it was just a regular guitar, so it wasn't like you could plug it into the system. Right. You had to mic it up.
You call that acoustic?
Acoustic, yeah.
Okay.
And so
look at me go.
Yeah. And so Larry said, "Here, I want you to play this, and I want to hear what it sounds like. I just bought it. It was brand new. I pulled it open, and you can still smell it, the newness." And so I led worship that Sunday night with that Martin guitar. And I went to give it back to him, and he said, "No, you just hang on to it, and when I get ready for it, I'll holler at you." Well, that was like my first year there. Yeah. 3 years later, I'm playing this guitar for the next 3 years while I'm at Cherokee Village, and that's what I led worship with after I had sold that other guitar to Natalie. And well, then I was there 4 years, and my fourth year there was when the church that I was saved in, Maple Grove, their worship leader, he stepped down, and so they put together a search committee. They were looking for somebody to come and lead worship. Well, Jill and I, this was a Thursday afternoon, And we lived on the golf course there, on the north course at Cherokee Village, and we were in the golf cart. We were down by the little river there, and just hanging out. Just it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something, and Robert Hendricks was on the search committee at Maple Grove, and he calls me, and so I'm talking to him while we're down there just in the golf cart, and he says, "Hey, I'm on this search committee. We're looking for a new worship pastor, and your name keeps coming up. Would you be interested in coming back?" And I said, "Man, I'm happy. I'm content right here where I'm at. This place is great. This church is great. These people love me. I love them." And I said, and at that time, I was doing senior adult ministry. I was leading a group of senior adults through Experiencing God, the study Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm happy where I'm at, but I at least have to, pray about it. So give me a few days to pray about it and stuff. And so we got off the phone, and Jill was like, "What was that about?" And I said, "Well, they're asking, if we'd be interested in coming back and lead worship." And she said, "Well, I really don't want to go back." And I said, "Well, I don't either, but, this is, we at least have to pray about it." And the only person that I told about that conversation was my pastor, was Larry White. And the reason I told him about it was because I wanted him to be praying for us about that situation.
Right.
And so that was on Thursday, about 5 o'clock. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're praying, "God, if this is your will, reveal that to us." We really wanted to seek God in that matter, because when we got into the ministry, when I started in the ministry, we agreed, Jill and I, that we're going to stay where God wants us to stay, but be open to, if He leads us to go somewhere else, that we're going to follow Him.
And that's scary.
That is scary.
Yeah.
Especially when you have kids.
Yeah. I kind of deal with that too.
Because my boys, they enjoyed school up there. They enjoyed their time there. But we were open to what God wanted us to do, and so again, from Thursday, Sunday, we're praying and asking God for His guidance in that. And Monday morning, let me back up. When when we were talking about that on the golf cart, I said, here's the thing. If God was to pick us up and move us somewhere else, one of the first things I'd have to do is buy a new guitar, because the one I've been using in worship belongs to Larry Painter. And I've been playing it for 3 years. And I said, if God was to move us somewhere else, I'd have to buy, because that's how I live, worship. Yeah. And so, again, Thursday through Sunday, we're praying. Well, Monday morning, I go into work at the church, and I walk in, and the secretary, Jenna, said, "Hey, UPS just dropped off a package for you, or a box over there for you. It's over sitting in the corner." And I look, and in the corner, there is a Taylor guitar box sitting in the corner. And I had priced guitars, because I had sold mine to Natalie. And, man, Taylor guitar was kind of the top of the line guitar at that time. It probably still is. And I knew I couldn't afford a Taylor guitar.
You didn't order one.
And I knew I didn't order one. And I told Jenna, I said, "Look," I said, "that's not mine." I said, "I didn't order that. And I don't know what's going on with this." But she said, "Well, your name's on that box." And so, hey, I went over and opened it up. And Jamie, I pulled the guitar out, and I set it down, and I opened the case, and inside that case, there's an invoice, and it says "Shipped to Ronnie Dye," and it had a guy in our church. His name's Wendell Sharp, and Wendell paid $1,895, I think, for this guitar. I'm like, man, this is crazy. and Wendell had several children who were students in our youth group, And
but you weren't even the youth pastor.
I wasn't, but I worked a lot with the
them,
youth, so I had a good relationship with all those kids. And
but it's not like you were their youth pastor.
No. And so I thought, well, maybe Wendell's wanting to surprise one of his kids rather than have this sent to their house, send it to the church, and then he get in touch with me and have me to.
Yeah.
So I called Wendell, and Wendell worked on a riverboat. So he was my 4 years there. Wendell was, I could probably count on both hands how many times I actually saw him there, because he was usually gone, months at a time on the riverboat. Well, I called Wendell up, and he was on the boat. And I said, Wendell, look, man, I get here to church today, and this guitar box is over here in the corner, and it has my name on it, and it says that you purchased this guitar. I said, are you wanting me to deliver that to somebody for you? And he said, no. He said, I need you to get it out and start playing it. It's yours. I said, well, what? And he said, yeah. He said, man, God blessed me with a bonus at work. And he said, I've been praying about it and asking God what he wanted me to do with this bonus. And he said, I don't even know if you need it or not. He said, but this is what the Lord led me to do. And I couldn't tell him.
You couldn't tell him what was going on.
Yeah, I couldn't tell him that just 4 days ago, before that my wife, we were talking, and I said, if God was to move us anywhere, one of the first things I'd have to do is buy a new guitar. And I don't know how long it took to ship that guitar from wherever he bought it to the church, but I would think it would be
before then.
Yeah.
God was already moving that before you even got the phone call.
Right.
Wow.
And so, man, I was just like, I was blown away, and I remember thanking him for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
With tears, just weeping, thinking, man, this is a God thing,
Yeah.
And I, like I said, I thanked him, and all of a sudden, just the next thing out of his mouth was, he said, I want you to know that I didn't buy that guitar for the church. I bought it for you. And if God was to move you anywhere else, that guitar goes with you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Was you thinking at the time, okay, this is God telling me I'm moving, or you just still just so blown away that you haven't connected those dots yet?
So I, as soon as he said that he had been praying and asking God what he needed to do with that, and when he said he bought it for me, I knew at that moment that God was wanting me to.
So you connected the dots.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes I'm so hard-headed. He does stuff like that, and I still, okay, God, the fleece was wet and the ground was dry, but tomorrow I'm gonna flip that over.
Right. Well, and there's still a lot of factors.
Yeah.
To go. I mean, just because he bought that guitar and because they had called me and asked me about coming back doesn't mean that was going to take place. There was still going to be I was still going to go back, and there were people in that church voting on whether or not I was supposed to be that person. And so, we could assume that was what God wanted, but I just had a feeling that that's what God wanted me to do. And while that's not what we had intended to do, I mean, we were very happy where we were at and loved that church and still love that church. But that's what God had planned, and I remember talking with Brother Larry about it, and I remember talking to Jill about it, and I remember those discussions. And here's the other thing: the guy who discipled me, the guy who invested in me and spent so much time helping me to become the man that I was in the church. Was now the pastor of that church. The guy who taught me how to play the guitar, Jim Shaw, was now the pastor of that church. And so being able to go back and work with him was another, part of that equation. And so, but there was still also we just bought a house there, Cherokee Village, a couple of years or whatever. So we had to do something with that if we were going to move, and there was just a lot of factors in that.
A lot of logistics.
A lot of logistics, yeah. But if you're going to follow God, you got to trust God.
Right.
And we just knew God. God had never failed us in the past, and I knew God was not going to fail us in this. And so it was. And I'm one of those guys, man. Hey, I'm not scared to step out in faith. I'm not scared to jump. Even if I fall flat on my face, I get up and do it again. Because I really feel that God's going to protect, and God's going to guide and direct and lead us to what's something that's better for us. Right. It may take a long way to get there, but I really feel like God has a plan and purpose. And the last. When I went down to Maple Grove and had in view of a call and all that whole process, and realized that this was the end.
Did you all tell the church in Cherokee Village y'all were going for a view of a call?
We did, yeah. And like I said, I talked to Brother Larry about it, and he knew what was going on, and he understood all that. And my last Sunday at Cherokee Village. I'm in there in the choir room. I'm tuning that guitar up, and I'm getting ready to go out and lead worship. In comes Wendell Sharp, and he walks in, and he said, "Hey, I heard, that you were heading out." And I said, "Man, Wendell, I'm so sorry, man. I just want to apologize." I said, I couldn't tell you on the phone when we were talking what was going on, because I wasn't sure, if that was what was going to happen. But I said, but this was part of that whole plan that God had, and I said, I just want you to know this is one of the greatest gifts I've ever received, and I want you to know that wherever I go and whoever's touched by the music that comes from this guitar, you have a part in that because of your obedience to God. And he just looked at me, and he just started bawling.
Yeah, I got Kleenexes here. I
yeah,
remember.
he just started bawling, man. And
I'm about to cry too. So.
He said, I never thought about that. He said, I just knew that's what God wanted me to do.
Yeah.
He said, again, I didn't know if you needed it. I didn't know what kind you wanted or what kind, He said, I just asked the guy at the music store, if you were buying a guitar for somebody, what guitar would you buy? And that's what the guy recommended. And it's like almost $2,000 guitar. Yeah. And so, and Wendell, he said, man, I told you that I didn't buy it for the church. I bought it for you. And if God was to pick you up and move you somewhere else, that goes with you. And I was like, and so that was my last Sunday there. Went back to Maple Grove, and I've been at Maple Grove since. And I mean, I've led worship with that guitar for over 20 years, and still lead worship with that guitar, and think about Wendell whenever. And just not too long ago, Wendell passed away. And
I was just about to ask if you've ever,
yeah,
did he ever come and did he ever visit Maple Grove or see you play that guitar
he
outside of Cherokee Village?
I don't remember him coming to Maple Grove. I went back to Cherokee and did revival service, I know, once or twice, and I've been in touch with Wendell's family, through the years, and his son actually played drums at First Baptist Newport, I think, and turned and learned how to play the guitar later on. He actually plays guitar now, and but when Wendell passed away, the family asked me to come and lead a worship service at the funeral, and it was a pretty cool deal, man. And actually was honored to be able to share that story again, and
at the funeral,
and play those songs and all that kind of stuff, and again, wherever I go and whoever's touched by the music of that guitar, Wendell Sharp will have a part in that because of his obedience.
Man, I just got a picture of that. It's an old song by Ray Boltz. Thank you,
Yeah.
and he's gonna get some thank yous up there if that's true.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's true. It's a good thought.
Yeah.
But, he's gonna get some thank yous up there, and he didn't even know who those people are.
Yeah.
But important to be obedient.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because you never know. I mean, God knows, and we don't. We don't see it, and it wouldn't have surprised me if Wendell had never got to see any benefits of that, but he did. He was blessed doubly, and so you just got to sow those seeds. You got to be obedient, because you never know what you do when God asks you to do something and you do it. What the ripple effect. I mean, you throw that stone in, those ripples go for a long way. You never know where those are going to touch.
Had a funny story. When I got back to Maple Grove, they were not used to having somebody lead with guitar, and we can get we as people a lot of times don't like change.
Yeah.
And excuse me, whenever I was up there leading every week with the guitar, and there's a few folks that didn't like that, and a couple of folks expressed that.
Pianists for church.
Yeah, that's right. And a couple of folks expressed that to me. Mm-hmm. And what do you think my response was?
You told them the story of the guitar.
I said, if you think for 1 second that I'm not going to lead worship with this guitar that God provided for me, you got to be crazy.
Yeah.
And they since left, no longer part of that. But I wasn't about to say, okay, thanks God, but God provides for a reason, and God has a purpose and a plan, and it's just it's amazing how God, looking back, God, when you don't see it, and a lot of times I saw it at the time, but a lot of times we don't until years later. But it's amazing when you go back and you connect the dots.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I said this Sunday. Hindsight is 20/20. We usually can always look back and see God moving and what He's done and things, but and something else, that I guess our delivery may change over time, but the gospel never changes. The message is always the same. We don't need to reinvent the gospel in 2026 because it's worked for years and years, and it'll work for, if the Lord tarries, it'll work for years and years again. But I guess our delivery sometimes changes, but the message has always got to be the same.
Right. There's a we can get into that whole debate about music and different styles of music, different things, but the main thing, like you said, is the message, not the way it's presented, but the message. I had a conversation with a grandmother one time in our church, and we were talking about music, and she said, said something about the music is not what I grew up listening to, and or it wasn't in the same style that she grew up listening to, and her grandkid was there, and I said, well, how do you feel about your grandkid being here? I said, would you like to see them come to know Jesus? And it's like, I said, well, think about it this way: you think your grandkid watches the same black and white movies that you grew up watching? They're not going to watch that.
Yeah,
they're really not. I mean, how many times you go back and watch some movies from the 60s, 50s, and 60s?
Because they get remade.
Because they get but it's not that that movie's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's just not something that appeals to that particular age group, and so.
I heard a preacher one time. It was in a revival service, I think, and I don't even remember who it was that that said it. It's just one of those things that stuck with me, But he said Jesus taught in parables, and a lot of the things he talked about was either farming or shepherding. And he said because the two things that everybody done in his time in that region was farming and shepherding. He said, do you think you could go to Alaska and share the gospel with Eskimos or Alaskan people and tell them parables of farming and shepherding and them understand what you're talking about? He said, you're going to have to change the parable to fit what they know. The message is the same. You're just using different examples. That just kind of stuck with me that, and what did Paul say? I become all things to all men that I might win some. And you got to, you don't become the sinner that they are, but you have to talk to them in the language they understand.
You have to be able to relate to the message.
Yeah, and give them the same gospel, the same message. You're just using a different example. And I don't know. Sometimes I think that I don't read it in Scripture. I don't find it, but I think my spiritual gift is analogies. I've always had a knack since I've been in the ministry to be able to take a biblical principle and use some analogy to explain it. And I mean, some of my kids, when I was in a youth group or youth pastor, they would say, you're just the king of analogies. You've always got something. I was like, well, it's just like a gift. I don't really see that in the list in Scripture, but
connecting the dots.
I've just always been able to do that. And sometimes they don't even make sense to me, but other people go, oh, I get it. So God uses that. So anyway,
that's the story of the guitar, man, and that's
still using it today.
I still use it's in my truck right now, actually. Still have the invoice in there.
I almost text you and said, hey, when you come, bring that guitar.
Yeah.
And we'll show. And of course, in the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe have you sing a song or something on here. So maybe part two.
Maybe part two. Yeah.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed hearing you sing and hearing you play because I mean, like we've said before, if you're just joining us the first time you ever seen it, we've been friends since 5 years old in kindergarten, living in Streamer. So I've known you basically our whole lives, and I remember a lot of your life when you didn't sing and play the guitar. You couldn't melt you and pour you in front of people.
Right. Yeah, I was shy.
You was. I mean, and a lot of people.
My wife would not. She gets mad when I say that I was shy. There you go, Jill. He's known me longer than anybody.
He was. I mean, I was always the clown, the one that was trying to get attention, and you just kind of said, but just to be honest with you, I don't like getting in front of people and speaking. I'm as nervous as long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I get pretty nervous, but I still do it because that's what God's called me to do. But I mean, when we were kids, I was always seeking attention. You were shy. You weren't. I'm always up front and in front. So Jill, he's telling the truth.
That's right.
I have to. I don't want to get on your bad side, but I have to agree with him on that one.
It's not a good place to be.
Yeah. No. I've been on that bad side a time or two in our life.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jill, thank God Jill's a forgiving person.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, man, we're about to wrap up this show. Anything else? How about another Bible verse? Something that's been laid on your heart.
Oh, mercy. Goodness. I mean, I can't think of anything right now that just pops out.
Well,
other than I tell you what, Psalm 37:4, I believe, is the scripture. It says, and this was the scripture that Brother Mike Henderson shared with me when I was fasting and praying about whether I was supposed to be called, or whether I was called to the ministry. And it says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Yeah. And so that's probably one that is special to me.
And that was kind of confusing to me. When that was shared with me, or I read it, something, and it's like, wow, God will give me anything I want. But when it says delight yourself in the Lord, when we're in the Lord and we are happy in His, our will almost becomes His will.
That's right.
And the things that we desire according to His will, He will definitely give us. But I was like, man, I desire $1 million. Should I check my account today or tomorrow, Lord?
That's right.
And so, well, let me throw this at you. We go over. It's fine. I had someone on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and his favorite, or not his favorite, but one of the ones he threw out there, I believe it's in Romans. It says, "While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you? What does that? How does that verse affect you?
Jesus didn't wait for us to get our lives together.
Yeah.
He died for us while we were still sorry dogs.
Yeah.
Knowing that we were sorry dogs, He knew that what the price or what was required for us to have a relationship with Him, and He knew it was nothing that we could do, only something that He could do.
More than 2,000 years before we was ever thought of.
Yeah.
He died. Well, I think I shared this one at church Sunday or I can't remember. It's been recently, but before the foundation of the earth, the plan of salvation was in effect. Mm-hmm. God knew all that, and He done it anyway.
Right.
He knew it was going to cost us, and He created us anyway.
Yeah.
With full knowledge that we were going to sin and it was going to cost us on His life. And man, it just that just speaks love. That just tells me, that. And I guess the analogy we kind of do that with our kids before our kids even know. We plan for them. We do things for them, and knowing that they don't, deserve it. Of course, man, if life was fair, if I got what I deserved, I'd have been on that cross instead of Jesus.
That's right.
So anyway, but yeah, good verses, man. We got to get you, delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. So get your will in tune with His, and good words there, good words. So, man, I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
We may just take a break and let you go get your guitar, and we'll do a part 2 and run that out there or something. Let you feel like sharing a song or something with everybody.
Hey,
so,
Lord leads.
We'll do it. So anyway, with that, Ronnie, thank you for being here, man. Love you. More than a friend, it's brother in Christ, brother, and what you just don't know what's in my heart for you, man.
Yeah.
Just I appreciate you. Thank God that He put us together so many years ago. And so anyway, with that, keep from crying to end it up here, but that concludes this episode of Tearing Through the Roof, the podcast where life gets messy, friendships get real, and when the door is blocked, we'll make our own way to Jesus. Let's go.